The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Ah, there it is. You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on nbradio.us, Tech Talk Edition, and Life Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, only on nbradio.us. Shout out to how did I do? Was that a good take? That might work. All right, welcome to another episode of the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. That's right, MB Radio. Again, thank you for listening in. Shouts out to MB Radio for allowing me to be on this platform. They are giving veterans a voice. I am one of those veterans, retired Army Sergeant First Class Farron Dozier. Just here to just share some stories, share some life experiences with you. I got two amazing guests. The power of social media, let me tell you, I literally just found these two gentlemen in like a week or so. So, and one guest, as you may know, I do my shows are 99% organic, and I invited Sean here to be a part of the For the Love of Dogs campaign, part of the IE Hounds, and we're in the back talking before the show, and this guy is a veteran too. So here we are, designated, inspired veteran show that gets to cover two of my topics in this episode today. So very grateful for that. Just touch on some things. Yesterday, I was blessed to receive my proclamation from the city of Fontana. And so how can I say this? So I shared the last 6 years. My dad passed in 2019. And so the last 6 years I've been in this, and I recognized it, that I was in this kind of space of grief. You know, there's so many different levels and layers of grief that we all go through, and they show up in different times. But I just discovered a few weeks ago in my personal development education that I'm in, and it made sense that the last 6 years I've been really living in this space of like, I'm doing a lot of stuff, but my heart just wasn't there. And so I caught myself doing these talk shows. I mean, I've still been doing them the last 6 years, but I found myself sometimes it was just hard or difficult to communicate with people because I don't want to talk, because I'm grieving that I don't want to talk to anybody and I want to shut down. And yet I pushed past all of that. You know, I acknowledge that, but also that got me back into church. So as I started looking at the space that I was in, although I was in this grieving space, I did turn to God because I was like, I just didn't want to worry about my life. Like after my dad passed, I was just so concerned about how much time I got left. I have my grandson. How old am I going to be when he, you know, I just didn't want to live that life. And so I went to God and like, look, I just got to find you for myself. And so I've been on that journey this last 6 years as well. So most recently, I discovered that I was living, before my dad passed, I was living in a be, do, and have. That means I was being this advocate for sickle cell trait. I was being this broadcaster. I was being Farron, this whoever Farron wanted to be right now. And then I was doing whatever hat I had on. And then I was having the results of what I wanted to have. But I remember, I'm going to tell you this, when I was at TV broadcasting school when my dad passed, and I was on the camera that day. And so obviously I couldn't have my cell phone. So I put my phone out afterwards. I look at, and I had a missed call and a voicemail. I checked that message and it was my dad's caregiver. And on the voicemail, she was crying and just going, hollering and just it's hysterical, just like, of course, crying because she found my dad. And I just like, okay, let me call. So I called her and she's like, yeah, you know, I'm with your dad and he's unresponsive, and she's crying. And I'm like, okay, let me know, you know, what happens. Call the coroner, whatever y'all do. I'm thinking about what I see on TV, right? Like they'll take him to the coroner and move his body and all that. And so I remember standing in the hallway that day when I hung up the phone with her, and I said, my dad died. And I said to myself out loud, I'm done. And the moment I said that, I can now look back and see, by saying that to myself and saying it out loud to myself, I started to really believe that I was done. But I pushed past it because I was using my post 9/11 GI Bill, so I didn't want to pay that money back. So I forced myself to finish school. I forced myself to do my shows. But I can tell you, in the last 6 years, just most recently, I discovered a couple days ago that I was living in a have, do, and be. So the be of the human being experience was at the end. So I got those pieces out of place. I was living a be, do, and have, where I'm being the advocate and I'm experiencing it, and then I'm doing what advocates do, and I'm producing the results. But the last 6 years, I was having what I wanted, and then doing it, and then I was going to be the advocate at the end. I was going to be the broadcaster at the end. But when you look at it from that perspective, I got to have it first. I got to have the shows, and then I'll do the show, and then I'll be a broadcaster. Do you understand that being the broadcaster is at the end of that experience? And so there'll be days that I don't feel like being a broadcaster, or I create 10 different shows trying to fill the gap and fill the space of this void because I don't experience being a broadcaster. But what it boiled down to was, in my class, was it was connected to me being successful as a person. So to go through that, we're going to talk about some mental health, some mental toughness. We did it, the last couple of months was mental toughness and wellness, and those conversations don't end. But I wanted to share so getting that proclamation yesterday reminded me that I'm an advocate, and I'm going to do what advocates do, and I'm going to produce the results that I want to produce. But to tell you, you got to tell the truth to yourself on what results do you want to produce when you're being these and doing these things in life, right? Because success is not outside of us. Success is who we get to be. It's for me, it's just different sets of accomplishments, right? To be successful. And I'm already successful. I don't have to prove anything to myself. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do a show. I don't have to do advocacy work. I'm retired. I don't have to do anything. However, reframing that back from have, do, be to be, do, and have, it was like my brain clicked back like, how did I get that out of sequence? And then I remembered what I told myself. And so for those of us, my brothers and sisters out there in arms, again, you're serving or you serve. That's what you got to do. It's not who you are as a person. Don't lose yourself. I know I lost myself in that camouflage and in that rank, right? And so I'm just sharing with you, don't lose yourself. Find what you care about in the community. Maybe you have a story inside of you. Maybe there's something that you want to share that you don't think anybody cares about. I promise you, there's somebody that needs to hear your story. And that's what brings me in front of you today. Being this advocate, being this broadcaster, doing what I do, having the basketball teams, all that stuff. And I realized that I made all that up. So again, why do I get frustrated with myself about my basketball team? Because I don't have to be an owner of a basketball team. I don't have to do none of that. I made that up. So how do we do that? How do we lose sight? That power of the subconscious mind, I'm telling you, is powerful. And sometimes it just loses sight, or we allow it to lose sight and take control. So I don't have any problems. I don't have any worries. I don't have anything. And all the stuff that I worry about today, I made it up. And I can admit that. And that gives me peace to then look at it from not as I'm stuck in something, but as something that I want to be up to. And I want to be up to the basketball. I prayed for a basketball ministry. So it's not surprisingly that all this stuff is coming to pass. And so, again, the IE Hounds, I'm one of the co-owners now of the Inland Empire Hounds. We are in our season coming up 2025, 2026. I discovered that I was still grieving from my dog, and one of my business partners, my co-business partners, was also grieving from his dog of 17 years, mine of 14 years. And so we created a campaign called For the Love of Dogs. Our goal is to reach out to breeders all the way through my conversation and his conversation of the grief counseling for those of us who have lost or had to put down their pets. Some of y'all can bounce back and get another dog. I'm not in that space. I'm still not there yet as far as wanting to own another dog. So this is my contribution back to the dog community and to the pet owners. And I've met people just in the last few months of this grieving and talking about the loss of their dog. And I really didn't even think about that was even a conversation, really. But so many people have had that experience of either having their dog pass away or having to put that dog down. And so if you want to be a part of that conversation, it is at IEHounds.com. You can go there and check that out. Other than that, you'll hear some PSAs about my sickle cell trait awareness. But today's episode, I'm just very excited because I have two gentlemen. Again, I knew one was a veteran, but surprisingly, my other guest is a veteran as well. So we're going to have a conversation about life before, during, and after service. I could put that in there. This is the Farron Dozier Show. So let me just make sure that we got... I want to do this. We're going to do this right quick. We'll be right back.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit WDCONSCT.org. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh,
too,
man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. All right, again, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. And make sure you check me out also on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Yes, we used to have these shows combined, but I got to figure out how to get my sound quality back in good sound over there at KCAA Radio. So right now we are separate again. So catch me there on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. On the Farron Dozier Show there. And again, if you have more information, you want questions about sickle cell trait, wdconsect.org. All right, so with no further ado, let's get this conversation started. I'm just like beyond myself to hear these stories. Sean, how are you today?
You know what? I'm great, and thank you so much for having me. Every day is a blessing for me. Thank you so much for having me here.
Man, thank you for accepting my invitation to be a part of what I thought was only going to be the For the Love of Dogs segment, but here we are. That you are also a veteran. So please introduce yourself and we'll get started.
So as you know, Sean Morse, and I love my dog. And the whole story about that, I'll tell you real quick. You know, I do want to come back to something you were talking about because it's. But today I remember meeting my dog. I was sitting on the couch and I looked down and she was sitting next to me. And I thought, wow, okay. And so my wife was over in the kitchen and I said to my wife, I said, so who is this? And she said, oh, that's our dog Rebel. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I said, so how old is she? And at that time, my wife says, oh, she's 6 years old. Oh, okay. And I said, well, how long have we had her? And she said, oh, about 6 years. And I said, okay, great. So
wow,
that's how I met her. And that's in essence what started my my new relationship with her.
Yeah,
I had been there with her pretty much the whole time. But in 2019, I had gone to sleep and I didn't wake up for a couple of months and my life started all over again.
Wow.
That's when I met my family. I don't even remember that.
Wow.
But there's just a whole lot more that went on with that. There's a whole lot more with having to start all over with the memory again, having to learn how to walk and do things again twice, not last year, the year before. And the super dog, every time I came home, she was so happy to see me. But then she'd sit down and she'd look away. She was kind of mad that I'd gone away for a month each time. So anyway, I didn't mean to bore you with all of that.
No. Sean, let me tell you, man. You know, being back in church, I'm not religious. This is just my relationship. And you learn so much about us as people and what we go through, right? And we talk about compassion and empathy, and we talk about, and a lot of people think that you do compassion, that you do empathy, and it'll be there. But just when I saw your Facebook page and even the title of it, like we all deal with some of the Bible calls them afflictions. We all deal with something, right?
Yes.
And to hear your story, to hear you share, even before we got live on the show, man, I can't even imagine like what that feels like to have to go through what you go through on a daily basis, right? And so, how do you feel knowing that this is, you know, where you are today with this?
You know, I'm thankful. One of the things that I often tell people to do is I don't care what's going on in your world. I don't care. I know everybody's got to get up and go to work. I get that. I get that people have things to do. I always tell them, stop. I don't care what it is. Stop. Take 30 minutes. Stop. Just take some time. Grab the ones that you love and just spend a few minutes with them. Talk to them. Listen to them. Because apparently I didn't do that. And, you know, if you have a younger one, they might want to grab some crayons and draw.
Right.
You better be able to draw some crayons, but you know,
right.
It's important. So stop and do that. So
right, man. Like I said, I'm almost holding back my tears because just the relatedness again. I don't understand what you're going through, but from what I dealt with and what you're sharing with how you are,
Yeah.
that's that space that
You
I
know,
want people to relate to connect to us as people first.
oh yeah. You know, you were talking a little bit ago when you were opening up, and you know, forgive me because of how this thing likes to work, but you were talking
Yeah.
about you know how people are going through things, and you were going through stages, right?
Yeah.
In
The grief
the
stages.
last
Yeah.
6 years, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that it took me time to figure out is where I was in my transition. You know, the first 2 years I had to throw away. I was still learning, you know, I was still wearing my Velcro shoes, which don't get me wrong.
Hey.
That's a great place to be because, you know, I had to learn how to walk. There was a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
But when I learned how to tie shoes, huge thing. Anyway,
Wow.
huge thing. But you know, when you you go through this whole grief period, and you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Are you going to sit there and be upset and wonder why and not understand? You know, I think you lost some folks in your family that were super important to you,
Yeah.
that
My
mattered
dad,
tremendously, right?
my dad and my grandpa, back to
Huge,
back years.
huge influences on you, right?
Definitely.
Uh,
Yes.
Big impacts, and you had a lot going on in your life, big deals.
Yeah.
So while you were acting like, you know, getting up every day, going, I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I fall down a number of times a week, but I still get up and I get going.
Still
You
gotta
know,
get up.
there's a lot going on, but you may not know at the end of the day where it's going on. I would get up and I would go in, and I'd go to the stroke group meetings. I would go to see people, and I was frustrated. I was trying to figure out what had gone wrong and happened. I was so mad. And then one day I said, okay, I've got a choice. I can either continue to be this way, or I can move forward. And something kicked on with me. Something happened with you. I made that decision. Some people don't.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, when I've been asked, well, are you going to say something to this individual to help them when they come into these meetings? I would love to. I can tell them about me. I can.
Yeah.
I can tell them, here's my choice on certain things, but I'm not that one that makes that decision. They are.
Yeah. And I felt like if I would have quit and walked away from everything, nobody would have been surprised. Like I played that in my head, like, oh, well, his dad died. Well, of course he shut, of course, because people do that. But I'm like, no, I got stuff. I got to finish school. I'm an advocate. Like there's things that I'm doing. I got shows, but I pushed past it. But as we said, there was still something going on.
Right.
Trying to suppress those feelings and emotions and all that stuff is like,
right.
It was wild. Then to discover my framing was all it was, is how I framed it in my mind. It's like, you got to be kidding me. All I could do was laugh 6 years later, like, you got to be kidding me. That's what that was.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
But thank you.
And, now coming back to the dog real quick.
Yeah, go so.
I'll tell you what, she didn't really care how, you know, she didn't care that I couldn't solve the Rubik's Cube. That never mattered to her. And she didn't care that, you know, I was wearing my Velcro shoes for a reason, because I couldn't tie them.
Right.
She did wish that I had a treat with me. That was not, you know, she was going to love me anyway, regardless. And if I couldn't spell her name, she didn't care.
Right.
I was still, you know, I was still there, and she was going to do everything she could. And that's one of the things that I love about her. And there are a lot of organizations out there that, you know, love to do things, to get involved with organizations. And I think that's incredible that you do.
Yeah, thank you. Before we bring Matt up, I want to ask you, of course, I mean, you it was a stroke that you had. How does the dog help you? What is her role in your life as well?
Well, I'm going to share this with you. Yeah, the stroke really hit me hard and did that. But because of it, I became epileptic. Now, a lot of dogs help stroke survivors. They do, because they are one side impacted or the other, hands,
Right.
whatever. That's a big deal. What my dog did that was significant for me is somehow, I say somehow, it's different. Because I became epileptic, she knew when I was going to have seizures.
Wow.
On the days that the seizures were coming, she would come and sit on me or come and touch me.
Come on.
What would happen with my meds is they would up my meds to kind of stop the seizures.
Yeah.
And so that would last for about a month. And then they would start coming back. And she knew. I didn't know that they were going to come, right?
Right.
You know, but it got to the point where she would just come and lay on me on days that were really, really bad. And when I had to go in, I had, when they tested me, they took the meds off of me. I had something like 84 seizures in one day. Now I'm going to tell you something else real quick, and I'll do this. When they had done all of this, and I had spent 2.5 months in the learning how to walk and talk and all that again, they didn't want to teach me to talk, but they did. She blew out her knees, and we went to the vet when she blew out this. Yeah, I was home. I was healing and doing well. I was doing great. The seizures were and we're walking around, and there goes one knee, and I went, no. And so then we go to the vet, and the vet's like, here's the situation. And we're here's like, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to get this done. And I'm like, and I don't care about them. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Honestly, this is my loved one daughter's dog.
Wow.
She's a family dog.
Yeah.
My daughter's dog. Okay.
Right. Right.
So let my daughter try to make this decision. Anyway.
Wow.
That's how much money it was. And so we take her home, and the vet's like, you can see how it feels. You can do this. So we do it. And well, it starts to get better, but not really. And then the other one went.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And because that one went, this one went again. So then we were back at the vet's, and I'm looking at my daughter. I'm looking at my daughter. And I just looked at the vet and I said, when are we getting it done? Just let's get it done.
Oh my goodness, Sean.
My goodness. And she dances better than I do, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sean Morris on the Farron Dozier Show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. For the love of dogs, ladies and gentlemen, this is our campaign. As you can see why this is so important, because when I chose to have that campaign, I know we talk about dog breeders, and again, for me, the grief counseling, but there are service dogs. There are dogs that help people with their health. And Sean is a prime example of why the For the Love of Dog campaign is, for me, is important. We all have different aspects of why we own pets and have our dogs and cats. Sean, man, thank you so much, man. I'm going to bring up Matt, and then I'll bring you right back up again, okay?
Yep. All right.
Thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, this is the Farron Dozier Show on I'm about to say KC Radio. This is MB Radio today. It's Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks for listening in. I'm going to play a couple of PSAs and come back and bring up our next guest right here on the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. Make sure you go to mbradio.us. We got an app too, so you can either listen to us from the website or download the app if you're an Apple or Android. It's compatible with all. And check out the other first responders and other my brothers and sisters in arms who are here on this platform doing what I'm doing here in my own version of sharing their story, reaching out to other veterans, just doing what they can to find their voice, as MBR has allowed us to be a part of this network here. Thank you. We'll be right back. This is Farron from the Farron Dozier Show, 8 p.m. Pacific time on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that leaves no listener behind, and MBR Radio. That's right, MBR Radio on all their streaming platforms, including MBR Radio on Roku TV, Sunday nights live, 8 p.m. Pacific time on KCAA Radio and MBRradio.us. The Farron Dozier Show. For more information, search farrond.com. Tune in to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAAradio.com website on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Brought to you by Sports Collective TV, Sports Collective Radio, and Sports Collective Media. We got the Heem Factor, we got In the Zone, and we got Fourth Down and the 20-second Timeout Sports segment. All for you right here on the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAAradio.com website with my guest hosts Robert Lamar and Coach Will. Catch us on Sports Collective Media on Instagram and Facebook. And make sure you watch us Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAAradio.com website. Music, talk, sports, and so much more. The Farron Dozier Show. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Farron Dozier Show. Again, thanks for listening in. Today, again, for me, is just exciting because of these two gentlemen that are here. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Look at there, ladies and gentlemen. Look at there. Come on. How you doing, Matt?
Good. How are you?
Man, thank you. There's. Wow. All right, Sean, I'm going to bring you back. In a second.
All
right. Matt, man, thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the show today and share who you are and what you're up to. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Matt Spade. I'm the founder and head coach of Operation Antifragile. Recently started this nonprofit. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I was with 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, fought in both Iraq and Afghanistan, got out in 2010. Then I eventually did a few, crazy find your way things, and eventually found my way into the fire service. I think it was like 2013, I think, when I started firefighting. And I quit last year to start this. It was something that I knew was one thing I'm just passionate about, and something I was kind of already doing I'm also a strength coach, on the side. And I just saw this as a need. So trying to fill in the gap in healthcare, essentially, for veterans and first responders is the main mission of Operation Antifragile.
Again, thank you for that. Let's go back in time a little bit. Who was Matt growing up, man? As a child, as a teenager?
Good question. I got a lot of rabbit holes to go down too. But I had as a child, I was born in Houston. I moved back and forth between Texas and Oklahoma. My dad was a geologist, so it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's funny because my parents are East Coast. I don't have a Texan accent. I don't really have an Oklahoman accent. A bunch of guys in the Marines thought I was from California. So yeah. I had a pretty good childhood. I did deal with some childhood trauma early on, that now I know is kind of like the start of a lot of things, and kind of for a lot of people, but especially veterans and first responders too.
Yes.
So with that, I learned to kind of be resilient early on. Mm-hmm. I had to kind of put a stop to what was happening myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was, again, kind of the start of this sort of just anti-fragile mindset, of being like stronger when there's stress, and eventually just being like, nope, not going to take it anymore. I'm going to get stronger. And so that's kind of me as a child, I guess. I don't know how much of my history you want me to go into.
No, I appreciate that. Like you said, even for myself, after I was at my depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, trying to figure out that what's next, right? And the education that I took, I got my life back, right? I found the what's next, but I also had to go back. I had opportunity to go back and heal a lot of the childhood. I was an emotional child, so I had a lot of emotional episodes that I could remember that. Well, no wonder I act the way that I acted, right? Because of the emotional state that I was in, listening to my subconscious mind like it was me. I can articulate that today, but like you said, a lot of that stuff did happen. You know, when I joined the military, just exasperated. It was like, oh, I don't have to worry about, because there was one conversation we had that they said, don't worry about where your wife or your girlfriend is at, because you could get your whole squad killed daydreaming about where you know your loved ones and all that. And so I took that at 19. I took that to heart. Like, okay, but I was already emotionally shut down, so that was just like, oh, that was like in the freezer. Like, oh, I could turn that off like that. Oh, cool. But I didn't realize that, you know, going through my career and then afterwards that was something I had to deal with because of my emotional state. So I appreciate you for saying that. There's a lot of things that we do deal with, and we're praying and working with the VA, and hopefully they take those conversations into consideration, right, of how our life was before and during our service and even afterwards. So I really appreciate you for saying that. I don't think anybody really escapes those episodes of those versions of those. Like, we all experience something, right? But how do we figure it out and start to heal those ways and those paths? So I really appreciate you for saying that.
Yeah.
Out of all the branches to serve in, what was going on with choice
Marines?
of the Marines? Yeah.
Well, they're the best. So,
oh my God, let me turn this.
Yeah, that pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I'd always had a goal of kind of joining the military, and it's actually kind of weird. I only needed 1 credit to graduate my senior year. So I was doing this kind of OU homeschool program. I was working 2 jobs, and I actually looked up information on the Marine Corps, and the next day, a recruiter at my different job, it was at an Orange Julius at the mall. He walked by and he was like, "Hey, ever think about joining the Marine Corps?" And I was like, "I just put in a interest thing yesterday, you know." But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to help in the war as well. It was something that I don't know. I still remember seeing the newspaper one time, and it was when a lot of stuff was going on with Fallujah. I think it was probably Operation Phantom Fury going on. I was just like, I want to go help.
Yeah.
I signed up the day after 18, and
wow.
Yeah, no, never really looked back. Really glad that I made the decision. Yeah, you know, I'm dealing with a lot of issues from that, but that's again kind of why what I'm trying to do isn't just a reactive program, it's a proactive.
Right.
You start doing these things, strength and conditioning, this mobility work, breath work, all this stuff, you're going to be more set up for success when that stress or trauma happens.
Right. Got to have those tools.
Yes, exactly.
I want to touch before we move forward is the transition from that civilian to the Marine and the putting your feet on the yellow footprints, and what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember boot camp really well. I had an all gunny team. And you know, boot camp, it's mainly a mental thing. And you know, finished boot camp, went to SOI. I was actually originally going to go recon. And it was when like BRC got really backed up, the basic recon course. And I was in the recon training platoon for like 6 months when you're only supposed to be there for, I don't know, a short amount of time.
Oh yeah.
And eventually had to get surgery and stuff. And I ended up going to the Grunts, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines. And I'm very grateful that I did. 3-4 was one of the most combat deployed units. So I had a lot of good seniors. And, you know, went to Iraq. I was in kind of the Al Anbar province, sort of bounced around a little bit. We were in like Hit and Haditha, and the war was kind of winding down. It was more of a hearts and minds mission then.
Yeah.
But then Afghanistan, it was ramping up. I was in Nowzad, Afghanistan. At the time, it was one of the hottest AOs or areas of operation.
Wow.
And just riddled with IEDs pretty much. So that was like our biggest threat. And I mean, probably my squad, and not trying to say like my squad found a bunch of them, like everyone found a bunch of them.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Probably found about 20 or I don't know what. It was a lot. And with that, you know, we did an offensive operation, Cobra's Anger. kind of kick the Taliban out, try to set up some ground, and then the deployment was over.
Yeah.
And then I got out pretty quickly too. I was telling you earlier that it was kind of an admin error. I was in Afghanistan, and then I was a civilian in about a month, maybe a little bit less than that, because my contract wasn't extended. I was in a school. So had that. And I love, like you were talking about earlier, about not losing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what happens a lot when these guys get out.
Yes.
When I got out, it's like, you're not a Marine anymore. Literally the day I got out, I'm driving back to Oklahoma City from California, and my leg randomly swole up huge. I don't know if I had a blood clot or what was going on, but it hurt.
What?
I went to my first experience with the VA when we got there. It was July 4th. And I don't know how long I was in that waiting room. There's only like one other guy, and it was just my first experience. And then before they even came to tell me what was wrong, the doctor was leaving and everything. And I was in the waiting room like, hello, like, and they're, oh, we don't know what's wrong. So I still don't know to this day what happened, but that was kind of my, hey, welcome to civilian life.
Right.
And, but I made my way. I started roughnecking for a bit, which was a really good job just to transition out of. I always had something in my hand. I missed my rifle. I'm a Marine, and it was like, I would still, I don't know if it happens to you or not, but it's like, I still sometimes I'm like, ooh, where's my rifle?
Her name was Betsy. Her name was Betsy.
Yeah. And so it was good. I had a big sledgehammer, big pipe wrench, and it was outside working hard. I liked it. It was a tough job. But I wanted
Did it allow you to release some of that?
I think so.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
thinking, right?
A sledgehammer. Slinging those tongs on there. I don't know how familiar you are with the oil field and roughnecking, but it's a tough job, and you get to do a lot of take out a lot of aggression.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
so it was
good transition.
Yeah, but I miss being of service. So I was looking into the fire service, but I had bought a house, and then I had a mortgage, and I was like, I don't know about the GI Bill. I don't, I had a family, or just my wife. We didn't have kids at the time yet. Which I forgot to mention that my wife's been with me like since the Marine Corps. So we've been married for 18 years, I think now. She confused me because she was planning our 20 year, and it's like, it's not coming up yet. So, but we've been together for a long time. She's a very strong wife, very supportive. But yeah, so I left roughnecking, and I started contracting. A bunch of my buddies were doing it. I completed the training, and I was supposed to go to Iraq, but it was when the Army had just pulled out of Iraq. So everyone was on a retainer. Like, the guys that were there were stuck in Iraq. I was stuck in the States. But it was a great time to really discover myself. That's really when, just how you talked about how you were able to like go back and really like think about all the things that had happened to you and really find that healing. That's what I found. I was able to get like private counseling. I started going to a CrossFit gym, and I found like a good community and stuff. CrossFit, there's good things, there's bad things, but I'll definitely give it the credit.
We're gonna talk about that before you go too.
It has the good community aspect, and it put barbells in a whole lot of people's hands. A whole lot of people. And so I started eventually coaching and going to school for firefighting, and I eventually became a firefighter in Oklahoma.
What was that like? Like, just, I'm gonna be a firefighter.
So it's hard to get in the fire service. At least
that's what I'm saying.
For some people, it's very easy. It's like a lot of other things, politics, and everything.
For sure.
But I eventually got hired by a small combination department. And I loved it. I couldn't have been happier. My starting pay was only $9.50 an hour. So it was not a whole lot, but I was like,
made like $90,000 or something. Where's that?
And that's why sometimes people will think firefighters make all this money, and
right.
Some of them do. There's some departments that do pay really well, and but this one did not in particular. But so I was coaching, I was doing other little side jobs as well, and it was kind of weird because it was combination, and I worked admin hours. So it was like 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. I would sometimes coach before my shift, sometimes after, usually after. So my days were extremely long, and that's when I really started to discover that firefighters were dealing with a lot of the same issues that veterans were.
Right? We forget about law enforcement. We forget about, I talk about law enforcement, firefighters. The suicide rate in law enforcement is just as close as
it's huge.
Our veteran community. Huge, man.
On law enforcement,
it doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, and the bad thing about those statistics too is that's just what's recorded.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why it's there's even more.
Exactly.
And so the problem is really much worse than what we already think it is. And the problem is also that guys are kind of afraid to talk about it.
Yes.
A lot of guys that I worked with in the fire service would come to me more individually because they're like, oh, you're a combat veteran, you know, Marine Corps. I didn't fight in combat. But it's like, and I always be like, dude, like, we see a lot of bad stuff in the 911.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of trauma. And
Woo!
if anything,
I can't even.
I almost think it's worse. You know, because it I don't know, it's not worse. You know, there's not
worse, but
hierarchy,
you're looking at you're right there with the body, like you're right there with people.
Well,
like,
and then you have to come home and be dad and be husband and do all these things, and it's like, what if, you know, I could have just, and I basically had this experience. I ran a call. We had a very bad wreck involving one of our police officers. And that's also when it's another first responder and you know, friends with him. You know, it's a lot different when you're cutting someone out of a car when you know them than if it's a stranger. So it was a very difficult and complex extrication. He was basically hit by a garbage truck on the highway, T-boned. Went into a ditch, and they basically became one, and his legs were mangled in the dash, essentially. It was all raining, muddy. It was just like, you know, and it was just me and a rookie firefighter at the time. Thankfully, he had like some medical experience. A lot of police officers ended up on scene, but there were some problems with that department, and I'll kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, that's fine.
We didn't get the backup we were supposed to. But we got him out. But it was still very traumatic for me. And it also, because this police officer in particular, he actually looked and sounded a lot like one of my old squad leaders.
Oh, wow.
And I remember saying that to a lot of the guys I worked with, and it was like,
wow.
As soon as they'd be like, wow, like he does. And so I think that maybe messed with me a little bit too. But either way, you know, right after that extrication, you know, we didn't know if he was going to live or die. We loaded him up on the bird.
Right.
And then it's back to work. I'm pretty sure we ran a cardiac arrest that same shift and some more stuff. And then I got off at 4 and then to the gym to coach. And I'm trying to coach, and I'm just like,
man, man.
You know, and it was a big gym. It was in like Midtown Oklahoma City. It was when CrossFit was really kind of booming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember trying to get people to warm up on the rower, and my good friend Brandon, he's I think he's a lieutenant colonel now, but he's close to retirement. He was another coach, and he was also working at the health department at the time. So he kind of understood the EMS world and everything too. And I was like, hey man, like I need to go home. Like something's wrong with me. And that was kind of the spark of like just when I first got out of Afghanistan, I had some issues. You know, I dealt with them early on, and I got better.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of starting up again. This kind of, you know, cut the wound open again.
Yeah.
And some more stuff went on. I was trying to fix that fire department in a way. Like there was a female firefighter that was getting sexually harassed. Again, just lots of problems. I don't really want to go into all of that.
Yeah. We don't have to.
But we brought it up trying to fix it, and the city manager fired us. And it was a whole wrongful termination thing. And but with that, I tried to drive home from there, and it was a route I'd driven a billion times, and I couldn't figure out how to get home.
Wow.
And my son, he had just been born pretty much. He was a few months old. So that was a whole other stressor. My wife and I had been waiting to have kids, and then bam, this happened, and just stress of having a young baby. You know, she'd ask me to go get some milk, and I'd be wandering off doing whatever weird operator syndrome kind of stuff. Eventually went to the VA, and that was this is a whole other rabbit hole I can go down. Did not get the help that I was supposed to. I have trauma from being in the hospital. I have repressed memories. Thankfully, we feel like there was a nurse in there that was like an angel. came and found my family and said that they could see what they were doing to me in there and they needed to get me out like ASAP.
Wow.
They were trying to have me committed. They were doing all kinds of stupid games with me.
Yeah.
And again, lots of trauma from that, but I got out and thankfully I was able to find a Camp Hope. My family heard about it. I went there. I was able to get off the psych meds they put me on and be in a safe space among like other veterans.
Right.
But I almost left there because at the time I was dealing with firefighter stuff. And I was like, look, I need to talk to a firefighter. Like he's going through a thing. I'm talking about pump pressure stuff and everything and friction loss. And, you know, they didn't quite get it. But I was able to stay with the guy. He was with HFD, Houston Fire Department.
Okay.
Brought me into his home. Super great guy. I mean, that's so much of what saved me was that, again, that peer support.
Yeah.
You know, getting to talk to each other, understand, like I've been there too, share that experience.
Yeah.
And then I started coaching again in Houston, and I started volunteer firefighting because we weren't sure if I was going to be able to continue to do the job. I'd hear a siren and I'd go into autopilot essentially.
Jeez.
And sometimes it'd be kind of like a Marine mode. Sometimes it'd be more firefighter. Sometimes it'd be more contractor.
Right.
So it wasn't good. But I had a good, you know, because I do a lot of meditation and stuff, I could really feel when it was going on and still kind of be aware. But
right.
But yeah, so
let me ask you this, because you touched on a couple of spots that, as I'm listening to you and relating to you at the same time, that identity, man, I know for me, like I said, for me, I think, and not just me, but as men, I noticed we deal with some type of identity, whether you're an athlete who played sports from child to adult age or a firefighter, those identities, but they happen early too, though.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've said so much. Do you realize that it could be what you were looking back wasn't the identity changing from the warrior to the
because it's like exactly. I was, you know, especially at war, how you're talking about how you have to put your family to the side because if you're distracted, your guys might die. I'm very proud of the fact that I brought my guys back. I was very worried about that going into Nowzad, but brought them all back. And then, you have to switch that mindset of just like, you're not at war anymore. And especially when you have kids now too, it's like, they're not Marines. They're not your firefighters.
Right.
And that's what, towards the end, I started finding myself kind of, you know, my son is older now he's 10.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't treat him like a rookie. You know, he's your son. You know, and some guys, especially when they get out of the fire service or police or military, they it's hard to find. And that was so much of their identity.
Yes.
When they leave. And that's why it was very difficult when I was wrongfully terminated, for one thing, because it was like I'd been doing a ton of good stuff for that department too. And it was just all of a sudden kind of when it's taken from you kind of thing, it feels weird. But you know, you have to realize, because I remember trying to get in the fire service again so bad, so fast. And someone around me like, hey, like, take care of your family. And it's like, you're a dad first. And that's what you need to remember when you're in the job too.
Yeah, exactly. No, man, again, you've said so much key points about just us, but I want people to realize that it's not just us as veterans, right? These are human being conditions, right? And what I've learned for myself is the way that we label each other and we object. Like Sean can relate. It's the fact that the military took my 19-year-old brain, right? And which the brain is malleable, so it took my 19-year-old brain and trained us to objectify another human being from a human being to a terrorist.
Yes.
And then you kill terrorists, but then one day your mind's going to remember, shoot. Like, but that's not just us. That's police officers. You know, we say in the community that I'm labeled as a suspect before I'm a person. But the community does the same thing to the police department. You're a police officer. We objectify one another so much to the point where look at how our society is today. like we label each other, and it disconnects us from that human connection first, which is what us as veterans try to get back to. Even back to the points where we were broken before the service. At least want to get back to something that's familiar and comfortable, even though it's chaos in our mind. So I really appreciate, what you said there, man. It's so important for people to just kind of hear us and say, I don't understand Farron, so I don't expect anybody else to understand me. But if you could relate to me as a person, we could have a whole lot of other conversations that could be effective and even support one another. Sean, you hear anything while you were down there, man? Anything you want to say?
Yeah. I heard so much, and I think you guys are great because I was actually sucked into the whole conversation. I'm just sitting here. Okay, I need to get a cup of coffee. and needs to keep talking for a while. And I have a whole crowd, and I'd like to book you for next Thursday. But a lot of it also speaks to PTSD and quite a bit that research is bringing to the table that we saw coming out of, and I hate to say this, the pandemic and research. And stuff created there.
We didn't even talk about that part.
And unfortunately, that time frame. But the reality of what we've learned since then, and we keep learning now, is amazing to me. The impacts of it, but really what we keep finding and learning about it. It sounds like you're on top of that quite a bit, Mark.
Yeah, it's such, and I can only, articulate this because I had to go back, and I'm 15 years in trying to stay alive, right? And so I'm talking about peeling off layers and layers and layers, and even discovering most recently a decision I made about my mom at 2 years old. Like, how does a 2-year-old, before really having language, make a decision that he's disappointed in his mother at 2 years old? Like, how powerful that brain is. Like, we really need to understand how powerful that subconscious mind is. And as a military, it teaches us how to turn it on, but not to turn it off. And so we spend years trying to figure out how to turn it off. I even tried to take that identity away. Like, you know what? I don't even want to carry that identity at all as a veteran. But then I couldn't, because it's like it's ingrained in my brain. It's like all of that. So it's like I can't run from it. So then I had to go back and just accept that life and use those qualities, those experiences of what I went through, what I've been through, what I learned, and apply that to my life today. That helps me move these conversations that I'm up to forward, man. So,
and how do you explain this to somebody who hasn't had that experience?
For me, it's not about explaining it. It's about listening, right? We say that we're good listeners, but a lot of times we listen to react. So if because I'm okay with my life and I own my behavior, I can set myself aside and just listen to another person. And if you listen to how a person describes their life, because we don't really say what's so, because I don't want you to judge me. I don't want to. You might slander my name. You might slander tell my secrets. So we're already guarded as people with those defense mechanisms. So I'm gonna describe it. Oh, I'm struggling. Oh, I'm struggling too. Okay, then nobody gets any help because we're both struggling, and we just walk away. But no one's saying, "Hey, I got financial issues. I got relationship," because we don't. Unless you build that. I'm not even using trust anymore, because we're not supposed to put trust in people, only in the Lord. So I have confidence in another person, right? That I could connect with you. But even with confidence, I learned I'm not 100% confident either. So then I can't expect you to give me all of your confidence, but I don't have all of mine. So understanding that has allowed me to communicate, right? And you listen, you become a good listener and how people describe and share their life. So Matt, how do you obviously you help lots of people, even for yourself. Answering that question for you, how do you maintain that or listen to
Well, just like you said, the listening part is huge. Just like you said, so many people, when they're listening, they're just more thinking about what they're going to say after, and they're not really listening. And so and sometimes people do that. Like, I love how you were, sorry, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but just about how do you explain it just to people that haven't experienced this stuff? That's right. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And just, there's a science behind it too. It's your nervous system is so much of it. And that's what I usually try to explain to people about how, so like in combat, if you're going outside the wire, then bam, that sympathetic nervous system's kicked on, you're ready to go. And then you get back in the wire and, okay, calm down, but you're still not really in that rest and digest state. You're still in Afghanistan, still very well could get attacked or mortared or who knows what's going on. And then it's similar to being at a fire station too, where, okay, you ran a call, okay, you're out, and then you're back at the fire station, feet up, watching a movie. Well, guess what? Your nervous system is still kind of perked up, so you get, and that's why, a lot of people talk about like PTSD and all this trauma stuff. And I'm trying to bring a little bit more awareness to what's known as operator syndrome. Some people call it firefighter syndrome, because again, you don't have to be an operator to have this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
It's about like traumatic brain injuries, that chronic stress, and it really messes up your nervous system. And so many people think the nervous system is like an on-off switch, and it's really more like, I do a lot of balance board stuff. So it's like a balance board. You're kind of more in a kind of a sympathetic state, and and a little bit of parasympathetic, or it's back and forth, and there's I don't know, I've been diving into it. I'm like a nerd.
One thought can just take you anywhere.
Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of rabbit holes. So, but yeah, exactly. Your nervous system gets messed up. So when you have to figure out how to do these things, the strength work, the mobility work, the breathing, all that stuff, and again, it's good for just humans too. Everyone experiences this stuff, and that's what we're really seeing. How you brought up the pandemic earlier, that put a lot of people in these chronic stress states. So that's why so many people are having these problems, and it's really been very cool now here lately. I've been helping out a lot of people, and it's, to me, it's simple. Well, it's still complex problem, but
I agree with you, because once you go through the process and get that space of healing, and once I got that, man, I tell you, once I got that first glimpse of peace after, like, I collapsed in 06. It wasn't until 2010, beginning of 2011, when I got into personal development class, and I'm sitting there in that class, like 170 something people, and we have a conversation about the vicious circle. And it's like, okay, what happened versus what you made it mean, right? And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm listening to the coach, and we're going through the conversation. So then they say, okay, now look in your life and see where you made up a story, something like that. And gentlemen, it was like I could see my hand in front of my face of me sitting at my desk at work. And I remember we all did our physicals. We were getting deployed, and I did my paperwork, but the doctors flagged me because of my collapsing with the rhabdomyolysis and the sickle cell trait. And so I went to go and pull up the email, and of course I look at my name first because I'm in charge. So I'm like, let me see what mine says. And mine said pending discharge. And I'm like, nobody called me. Like, nobody said, like, what is this? Like, this is the first I've heard of this. And so I'm like, isn't there a process? Blah, blah, blah. My mind is like, okay. But I call and make some phone calls. They're like, oh no, that's a mistake. You got to go through a med board and blah, blah, blah. But I had already read it. And as soon as I read it and it said pending discharge, I made it mean my life was over. Because I could say my identity was trapped. So sitting at my desk from that moment on, every time that phone rang, it was like, oh my God, is this the call that's going to end my career? And that was a 3-year process. Right. So sitting in that class, I discovered that, oh shoot, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm thinking about that story that's been going in my mind, and I put it in that conversation, and I realized that all the Army said was, you're going to get a medical board. Farron made it mean my life is over. And when I was able to separate this vicious circle, because at that point of making that decision, no matter what happened to me, my life is over. I got a flat tire because my life is over. Just whatever, it's random. So when I put it in that conversation and I unraveled it, it was like, oh shoot, I made that up. The Army they didn't say my life was over. I said that, and I could take responsibility for saying that to myself. There was no more blame, and that was the space where I found, like, I experienced the peace. I was like, oh shoot, like that feels good that I recognize that, and that's not the truth. It was my truth, but it wasn't the truth. And man, I've been chasing peace of mind for 15 years, man, and it's allowed me to just find those stories in my mind that I've made up stories about my mom and my dad and the breakup with the 14-year-old girlfriend and just all the stuff that I made up because of how my brain was,
it's all about your mindset.
Yeah, mindset.
It's mindset
exactly.
right there. And exactly, you can have these bad things happen to you and then think like, oh, it's because of this and that. Or you can just be like, now look at these bad things being like, okay, this is an opportunity to grow. Oh, thank you for having all of these bad things happen to me. And that's how I view it now. And that's why, just like you said, because I've been through this before. Like I had a mental health crisis a little over a year ago, but I was able to bounce back very quickly because I was like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
I got to get to a safe environment, break that cycle, restore my chemical imbalances, and then like dump some trauma, get some professional support, and then continue to do this stuff.
Right.
And that's a lot of the problem is a lot of guys, they'll do it at first and then kind of fall off the wagon. Something bad happens. And I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, this great analogy about like, it's kind of like a filing cabinet. And your brain basically has like your cognitive, behavioral, and emotional. So it's like the 3 drawers. And if you do this stuff, the strength and conditioning, the breath work, mindfulness work, you get a little bit more space in those drawers. And every time some sort of trauma or stress happens, it's another file. Yeah. And if you never go through and sort those files, boom. So like doing this stuff helps you get more space in the drawers. And it's pretty much kind of how it works. You can be more resilient and then you can bounce back better too. So it goes back to mindset.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll share
Go ahead,
with
Sean.
you that in my former life, apparently my admin would meet with me every morning and we'd go over the day's routine. And we literally didn't book appointments. I had all the appointments. We booked time on my schedule for me to get out of meetings and go use the restroom. That's what we were booking. And then sometimes when I was traveling, I would stay over on the East Coast or over on the West Coast because it was more efficient for me to do that than versus flying. Or I might stay out of the country. It was that type of schedule constantly.
Wow.
That was my life as I've learned it.
Wow.
I don't remember all of that. I've learned all about it. That's where I was before. Now, my wife and I, last year, I walked away from all of that. Apparently, when I got well enough at home and I found, an old laptop and I found some of my my tablets that, I'd keep my notes in every day.
Wow.
Stuff. I started looking at these things, my iPads, and all these people started coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, he's alive. These sorts of things I didn't know. I'm still wearing Velcro shoes. But the point I'm trying to make is at one point I had to shut down and walk away from all of that. Even at that time, I wasn't smart enough to know what I was doing. The people from the office were calling and telling my wife, hey, it's nice that he's doing okay, but could you please take his name off of this stuff and shut down? And she had a conversation with me. It's time to shut down and walk away. And that was the best thing that I ever did. And then I think it was not last year, it was right after I had the last brain surgeries, an individual that was here in Colorado that was very, very close passed away. And the CEO of another company out of Chicago married his daughter. And apparently that CEO in that Chicago and I had stayed friends, apparently. And so he asked me if I would go. And I went. That was my first time stepping back in.
Wow.
And when I went there, these people would come up and they would say hello. And there was another gentleman there that walked around with me, and he would introduce me. And I didn't know the people there because of this. And people would come over and they were talking to me and they were saying things to me. And
probably overwhelming.
Even though I didn't know them, when I walked out of there, the thing that was sticking on my shoulders was the stress.
The stress.
Because these people were expecting me to be able to be there with them, answer
Remember, tell us what happened to you.
Exactly, but it was even I didn't even remember it, yet it still felt that way. And so when I walked out, and see, here's memory. I said to my wife, I am done. I'm so done, and I was able to walk away. Now, I will tell you this much. Somehow, some way, I accidentally signed back up with whatever that is.
Did you say accidentally?
Yes, I know. Bonehead. With that LinkedIn app. That I used to have like 4,000 people on. But, so I've been getting pinged with all of these LinkedIn people. Really nice people. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
But every
as far as you remember,
right? But every time I see that, it's like this wave of, I don't even know how to explain it. And so when I'm hearing what you say about your past and what you deal with, and I even have some old time kid stuff. I get it. Yeah. But when I hear you two talk about it, that's what it's reminding me of. And I don't feel like I feel like I'm blessed with the memory loss. Yeah. I do. And I wonder how much of that maybe led to the brain injury stroke. but I feel bad for you because you have to deal with it and how you deal with it. Yeah. And I can only tell you what you're talking about and what you're learning and what you're doing is incredible. And if anybody's paying attention, if anybody is hearing you guys talk, listen, because other than that, you're going to be like me, maybe utilizing Velcro shoes, and that's bad. But being able to get up and put your Velcro shoes on, I know that sounds bad, but pay attention.
You know, man, the 15 years that I could say that I've been, because I was done. It was over. I had the car. I had my favorite car. I had the plan. I had everything ready to go. And it was like, but I held on to my youngest daughter. I was like, because I have mental toughness. I play basketball. So I got mental toughness, but that mental anguish that I felt was something I had never felt before. And I was cool with it. Why bother? But for you to say what you say and to hear you go through, not even go through, but manage what you manage consciously, right? Because you know that some of your memory is not there, and you got people in your life that kind of remind you that your memory's not there. Like I can't even imagine, man, like your strength. I don't even want to say it's resilience. I'm like perseverance, because you got to constantly, so for me, resilience is being able to bounce back, right? When something happens, but perseverance is that's a through a difficult conversation, through a difficult, like every day, like you're saying, 51st dates. Every day you've got to remember that you don't remember to go through today, man. And I just I'm holding back my emotions, man, because I can't even imagine what I deal with and how you manage yours, man.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you that I think my wife likes. I don't remember what foods I like. So
she's like, "No, you like this, yeah."
Oh yeah, you like it. You used to eat that too. Yeah, we are.
Right. Yeah. So if I didn't like it yesterday,
oh my goodness, yeah.
Has she said if your favorite foods have changed or anything?
Today. What's that?
Has she said like your favorite foods have changed or anything? I was kind of curious.
Yes. And here, I'll tell you exactly what. And this one's going to sound kind of easy to deal with. I hated sweets. I never ate sweets.
Yeah.
Now I don't. I love. If you're looking at ice cream and you're holding on to it, you better run. And if you can't run faster than me,
I wonder if that has something to do with the brain loving glucose or something. And so now you're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
A little thought in my head. I don't know.
Here's another thing that I will tell you. Apparently, I would smoke. I wouldn't smoke during the day, but I would smoke. Now, I don't smoke.
Wow.
And when I can't even stand the smell of it, to be quite frank. I don't know.
Ex-smokers. Yeah. You got turned into an ex-smoker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wonder if that's, what kept me from eating the sweets. I don't know. But
you sound like it doesn't sound like a bad thing though, almost, because you get to be. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say bad. It's not right or good or bad, but you got new experience. I don't even know how to articulate that, bro. It's just
I don't know. Matt says he's going to come to Colorado and start working on PT with me. That's what he says. He's going to do.
I got a buddy in Colorado. I got a few buddies, but
the station is in Colorado. MBR is in Colorado as well.
Where at in Colorado?
Don't make me lie to you. I gotta take and see what city is.
There's a lot of you can be here. I mean, I'm good with that. I mean, if you're gonna run the way I fall, I'll just hop on, and I'm lightweight too. I've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, but Sean, I was gonna say, like, you're like exactly like someone that I'd love to help. And just your story is pretty amazing. I mean, you said you had to learn to walk again, I think.
Yes.
So
when this happened, yes, and then not last year before when they did the testing, got to learn how to walk again. And then when they did the surgeries, got to learn how to walk again. Although those 2 times weren't too bad. So yeah.
No, it's just like, it's another incredible story. You were saying so many nice things about me. Send it right back. I mean, having to recover from something like that and then not remembering things.
Right.
Too. And what's funny is, we can all kind of relate because I have a traumatic brain injury and I get in these weird cycles sometimes, and it's hard to see, but my wife can see because she's around me all the time. And, it's,
the emotional
problem that again, like you can heal the brain, that you're again a perfect example of it. It's not something that you have to be stuck with. So
well, the two of you, your emotional impact that gets tied to it is what knocks me out, because the complete loss of things is one thing that I gotta say I'm kind of blessed with.
That emotional piece is big.
You brought up the memory thing, and it is kind of a curse. I have a photographic memory, and when stuff gets bad for me, literally I blink and it's like images flash through my head. And that was something I had on a flight out to Alaska. I was linking up with some of my Marine buddies. I had flashbacks on the plane, and thankfully the crew handled it very well.
Wow.
Something got in my head for some reason. I have a nerve injury, and I was having shocks of nerve pain when all those different lights and tones were going off in the airplane. It runs through my arm. It shut off my pec and tricep. I got most of it back now, but now I'm literally just numb. It was originally from the elbow down. Now it's just right on my index finger where the trigger would rest. And it was making like my trigger finger twitch. And I was just like, something's wrong with me.
Goodness.
And the stewardesses came and they took me to the back. And, I explained like, hey, I'm a Marine veteran. I got PTSD. I'm a firefighter. I don't know what's happening. And they helped me calm down. They helped like me realize like you have a photographic memory. They treated me so well. And it helped so much. It was Alaska Airlines. Like they were really good. What were their names? It was like Mary and Kate or something. But some stuff I remember well, but
I could tell you, Sean, that's for me personally, the work that I've been able to do with the personal development, with the cognitive behavior, I recommend for all of my brothers and sisters, even if you're a civilian, cognitive behavior it was like the icing on the cake, because it taught me the personal development taught me how to be with my emotions. Like we have feelings and emotions, you have to become them. So I learned that, and I learned how to disconnect the thought and the body sensation and the memory emotion, separate them, right? And so when I'm able to do that, the pains that I had in my gut are no longer connected to the memory or the thought, because I connected them. And when you connect them together, then they disappear, right? That's the beauty of when you are willing to do this work, you can find your peace in some of these conversations. But the cognitive behavior was so effective because I was an emotional child. So I have all these emotional thoughts. I could think about it right now and I could feel it in my body, and it's like, done deal. It's happening for real. But when I was able to take that course and put those stories, some of those stories in those conversations, it's like, is this thought exaggerated? And I'm like, okay, let me think. And then I realized, oh shoot, that is an exaggerated thought. So now I had to even alter how I spoke. I had to even alter how I talk, because I can't use words like all or none in certain conversations. I don't love, I don't like, or like sometimes our own words are our own trap. And that emotional connection to the brain and the thought and the body sensation and the moment in time, like I've been able to really let some of those body sensations go because I've connected. So when the thought pops up, it's not connected to because my body sensation was so crippling that I would have to go lay down because I could feel it in my legs, to the point where I just go have to sleep it off. Like I would just like, I can't even function. I'm just going to go lay down and it may take 2 hours. It may take 12 hours. I might have to just sleep the whole rest of the day. But that's how my body was so attached to the emotions and the thoughts, to being able to then tell the truth to myself and separate where did that gut come from, that feeling of pain. Oh, that was the 14-year-old story of the girlfriend who left me or whatever. Man, I was 14. Like, then you have to tell the truth about the story.
Those things, though.
Yeah, I was 14. Like, come on. I have to have compassion for myself, forgive myself for making up those stories of I was 5, I was 8, I was 6, I was 12. Like, I'm 55. I'm not 12 anymore. Like, but you have to be willing to go through those processes, as you're talking about, Matt and Sean. Like, you got to be willing to put yourself in those conversations. We don't realize that sometimes you got to go through that body sensation feeling. You got to experience it, because I know for me, the moment I experience it in those conversations, I know I'm about to be free from it, because I'm feeling it and I'm willing to feel it again. And then it's like, that's stupid. Like, that's ridiculous. It was that thought, that story connected to all of this physical body sensation trauma, because the body keeps score.
Yep.
All that from a thought. Like, no, man. And so I chase that now. Like, I'm chasing those stories to let them go, because there's so much freedom on the other side, y'all. It really is. It's so much freedom. So, Matt, before we get out of here, man, I got a question for you. So, I'm gonna play this first, and then I want you to comment with me.
My name is Ann Halley. I am the CEO and founder of the Rhabdomyolysis Foundation. I founded the organization in 2022 in an effort to support survivors and fund medical-related research. If you're interested in getting involved with our organization, you can visit our website at therhabdofoundation.org. You can sign up as a volunteer, or you can support our organization by donating directly on our website. And all proceeds will go to support survivors and medical research.
All right, Matt. Given some of your background, I'm listening to. Are you familiar with rhabdo? Being in that CrossFit world?
Yeah, CrossFit gets a bad rep for the rhabdo thing too, because there was like a case not too long ago where a bunch of kids got rhabdo.
Exactly.
Did you hear about that? Yeah, coach had him do like a ton of push. I don't remember how many.
He was like a Navy SEAL person or something, and he came in to try to.
And I don't know the whole situation, so who knows what. But it depends on many factors, and again, that's why it's important to meet people where they're at. Yes. And I think that's where I don't want to just keep bringing up CrossFit. I don't coach CrossFit anymore. But that's where sometimes I think it got to where it was really common, because a lot of people that used to be athletes were jumping back into these high intensity workouts.
Yes.
But you haven't done this stuff in a while.
Yes.
So rhabdomyolysis and it can just happen to someone that isn't trained. Like you can't shoot a cannon out of a canoe. You have to have a good foundation. And so that's why with our strength program, we meet people where they are. I have a live training program that people can follow. That's mine. Okay. I do like strongman stuff. And some conjugate method stuff. I don't know if you're familiar, if I'm speaking whatever weird language, but it's not just that. Again, we meet with people, we figure out, are you an adaptive athlete? What other sort of issues do you have? We try to meet people where they are and get them started with at least something. Because that's the thing too, is a lot of people think, I can't do this. Or guys try to go back to like, okay, I did this when I was in the Marines. And it's like, well, you're not in the Marines anymore. And you haven't done this.
Tell me about it.
You can't, down a bottle of wild turkey and then go on 5 miles. Like it won't end very well. So, we try to get people started with just what can you do, and then get them moving again and get them out of pain. Because that's the other thing too, that's it, man. All this stuff is tied to your nervous system as well, with the movement and everything. Like the sympathetic is the control board is pretty much in the spine, and for the parasympathetic, it's the vagus nerve. And when you're not breathing properly with the diaphragmatic breathing, you're not stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system as much. So that's why I'm very big on, like, when we teach people breath work, about the mechanics and doing it properly. And I say, just like with strength training, it's just like if you want to build strong legs, but you're only doing calf raises, you're not going to get strong legs. It's kind of like with breathing. If you're breathing with just your accessory muscles, but you're not using your main one, the diaphragm, well, you're not going to be breathing very well. And it just leads. All this stuff is connected, and just how you're talking, the body keeps the score, and it really does. And that's why there's a gut brain connection. That's why I feel it in my gut. Exactly. Probably when you saw that, the pending discharge, I bet your heart went boom.
Oh, bro, it was a wrap. It was like I was done in that chair, bro. It was over.
And it's interesting. I took a class a while back, and I learned that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart. Wow. And it's like, you'd think it'd be the opposite.
Right.
So it's like, who's really in charge?
Right. That's why people point to the heart, but there is really the subconscious brain, but they are connected as far as those body sensations and all, like I said, all that other stuff that goes on.
Yeah, the body is very complex and cool, in my opinion. I don't know, but
But I'm a rhabdo advocate, so I advocate for sickle cell trait because I have that inherited gene. But for some with sickle cell trait and overexerting ourselves can cause the rhabdo. So I think they're saying that they're trying to determine which one causes what first, the chicken or the egg, because the rhabdo mixed with the sickle cell trait has caused sudden death in a lot of athletes and military. So they're trying to figure out, the sickle cell community don't want to take responsibility because of the sudden death, because then you're talking about 300 million people with sickle cell trait plus. They're not so now they got that could raise a concern or discrimination. Like there's a lot. I get there's a lot. I
haven't heard that about sickle cell, but
the trait. So so we're more susceptible because I have one normal gene and I have one gene that can mutate. So that day that I collapsed at ANOC, those 40% red blood cells that I have a sickle cell trait mutated. So I lost oxygen to my body, which then triggered the rhabdo, which is the skeletal muscular breakdown of all the enzymes leaking in the toxins and all that. So then I had renal failure. And then, like I said, most cases people have cardiac arrest and they pass away. But I didn't have the cardiac arrest, but my CK levels were 12,000 and rising, and I had 50% each of my kidneys. So they only diagnosed me with the rhabdo first. It wasn't even nothing about the trait until a fellow officer friend of mine shared with his sickle cell trait experience that triggered my memory that I was a carrier. And then that's when I discovered that there was a connection. And then that was the final decision for the military to be like, okay, yeah, you got to go. So anybody can experience rhabdo. That's the point. Anybody can, like you said, can experience it. There are even skeletal muscular disorders. There are other red blood cell conditions, cholesterol medications. The statin drugs can cause it. So it's a very important conversation. So I take on both of those because I can speak from the sickle cell trait and the rhabdo experience. And so
statin drugs.
Yeah, statin medication can trigger the rhabdo as well.
Yeah, I bet there's probably a lot of cases where people just blame rhabdo when there might be something else going on too.
And that's why I understand the sickle cell community of saying that is it the inherited gene, but now we have some evidence that the sickle cell trait plus the rhabdo is causing kidney issues, and some people have had there's a rare kidney cancer connected to sickle cell trait carriers. And so they're starting to realize that athletes, like I said, if you overexert yourself and the constant exercising could, for some, cause a rare kidney cancer or renal failure and things like that. So now they're looking at it as, okay, it may not be benign, but there is something going on with the sickle cell trait. We're not just carriers, and it's not just African Americans, it's Caucasian Mediterranean. So there's a whole nother conversation to that. But the rhabdo I took on because I saw that anybody can experience. I've interviewed little short Asian women to muscle bound, warriors that have had rhabdo, and a lot of them didn't know what triggered it, where it came from. And so that CrossFit world gets a lot of what you said, a lot of flack.
Yeah, for some reason, I guess it's because of the high intensity stuff, and also
you go from one exercise to because you go from, and I almost experienced it twice, trying to get back in shape and going from one exercise to the next, and it was like, bro, I felt they getting ready to trigger, and I had to step back. So definitely important.
I have all these gears turning in my head because I helped a lady. I used to train this lady. She would get seizures when her heart rate would get too high. And I use a palm cooling device. It's called a CoolMit. I don't know if you all are familiar with palm cooling, but one of the things it does, basically, it takes cold water on the hand, runs to the heart pumps cold blood to all the organs, cools off the brain, everything else too, and the muscles. And that's a big part of fatigue is actually the muscles heating up. So this helps cool everything down. You recover better. But I found it to be very helpful for my mental health, but they're also discovering it's very helpful for multiple MS, multiple. I can't say it right now. Multiple sclerosis. MS.
We got you.
But they're seeing a lot of progress and good results for people with that. And I know when I was stuck in my operator mode, I use it I can feel it in my head, like when I get dazed like that, essentially. And I felt immediate relief. And so it kind of makes me wonder if maybe just stuff like that could possibly help with rhabdo.
Right.
It's something I'd have to look more into, or possibly even sickle cell. I don't know. I'd have to do more research or like CO2 tolerance stuff. Too. I don't know how familiar you all are with CO2 tolerance.
No.
So if you want me to go into it, I can. Sometimes I feel like I go down rabbit holes.
No, you're good. You're good.
Forever. But so essentially,
relates to the brain too, and what the impact is on it with the brain and how that impacts other parts of the body. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
Wow.
most people think that urge to breathe is like they need more oxygen. And a lot of times it's that your CO2 levels are rising and you don't tolerate it well. So your body's trying to balance it out. And most people
Wow.
are also doing this shallow breathing. And when you get to where you're better at tolerating those CO2 levels rising, you can hold your breath longer and your body also just distributes oxygen better. So
Oh,
your blood
wow.
pressure will go down. Like I used to struggle with some high blood pressure. Now it's much lower. My heart rate's
Because of your
good.
breathing?
I'm sure that's part of it. It's a combination of things.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
combination. How did you get off the
But
blood pressure? How did you get off the pills? Exercising?
nutrition, exercise. I basically did the opposite of what the VA. Well, I never got put on blood pressure meds, thankfully.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But they, and that was the other thing too. Is a lot of like because I did strongman stuff. They would just kind of be like, "Oh, it's probably off a bit or something." It's like I don't like walking around with my blood pressure being like 150 over 100. Like that's not good.
That's not normal,
and sometimes I had some white coat syndrome being at the VA. But yeah, basically they told me to like avoid salt and red meat, and I basically did the opposite. A really good book, The Salt Fix, by the way. If
So
y'all
you
haven't
don't
heard
take
of it.
any BP meds, high blood pressure meds. You don't take any.
No,
neither do I.
I take a supplement with betaine, which basically
They
comes.
got me. He got me. I'm trying to get off of them. I'm trying to get off them. Mine went up after I got the vaccine, so I'm trying to tell them.
Improving your CO2 tolerance can help a lot. It's something that surfers do a lot of. I read about it in the book Built to Move by Dr. Kelly Starrett and his wife Juliet. I don't know if you are familiar with them. Very good book. But he talks about CO2 tolerance in it. And again, when you can improve your CO2 tolerance and get more efficient at your breathing, like everything works a whole lot better. And again, it just makes sense too when you start breathing right. Your heart also has these like baroreceptors in it, so it reads these pressure changes. Again, so when you're not breathing right, you're putting more pressure on your heart because you're not opening up.
You're not. Oh yeah,
that rib cage as much.
It makes sense. I mean,
there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with the breath, and then you combine some strength training, some conditioning work. Again, it's kind of cool. I like to just dive down. I could probably ramble on for forever.
No, thank you. We're gonna get out of here. We got an hour and 36 minutes, gentlemen. I appreciate every moment of this conversation. I usually do an hour 45 minutes anyway, so we're right in the window of my time. Sean, anything you want to say before we get out of here, man? It's on you right now.
You know, I've learned so much. I think you guys are wonderful. I want to thank you both for the opportunity to sit down. I could go on just listening for a while. I'm learning so much. But thank you. You know, I've got family members that are getting into my daughter is with a gentleman that's moving into the firefighting world, which is wonderful. I've got tons of family in the healthcare world today. So I'm logged into that. It's wonderful to meet both of you and spend time with you.
Yes. Thank you.
Great to meet you, Sean.
Definitely a pleasure. Thank you for your time today. All right, Matt, what you got for us, man, before we get out of here?
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great. Always happy to just talk, and it's been a great conversation with you both. Great to meet you, Sean, and you as well, Farron.
Yeah, thank
you. I'm trying to do what I can right now. You know, we're just starting out. If people can somehow support Operation Antifragile, greatly appreciate it. You can just go to operationantifragile.com. Our mission comes first. It's like I've been doing this before I actually started it. Of like just trying to help guys out, and now we're trying to send guys equipment that they may not know about. The sled system was huge in my recovery from my nerve injury. A loadable mace training was huge. Kettlebells, a landmine. There's just a lot of different tools that guys don't necessarily know about. And we can help them out and bridge that gap and tell them how to do, like you said, Sean, that you got family going into the fire service. Like this is something that, hey, start doing these things now. And you'll be much more set up for success. Same thing with our military and just humans in general.
It's people. At the end of the day, we don't realize that it's just a human being condition that we're not different. We're not different. We have the same concerns and the same worries and the same stressors. Like men and women, we have the same thing. We just our environment just taught us how to respond and react to them. That's it. But we're not different as people. And I really want people to really see that for themselves, so we can stop the labeling and stop, the way the world systems are just out of control these days, man. And so thank you both. Again, I really appreciate you both. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we just connected like within the last week or so or less.
I think it was just a couple of days ago or something.
John was just a couple of days ago. I'm like, I saw the dog. I'm like, hey, I got to get you. Let's talk about who you are and just all of that. So again, you guys made this episode perfect for me, and I'm very blessed. And so thank you for your time. And again, Matt, you got a website? You give me a website, or you said Instagram and all that?
OperationAntifragile.com. I am on Instagram. It's OAF_training. I do like a little bit of everything. I do strength training stuff. I do stuff on mental health. I go stand-up paddleboarding. A bunch is kind of my thing too. I did a fundraiser where I went for 12 hours going max difference. And I went 40.1 miles that I was very pleased about. So in 12 hours.
Standing on the board and paddleboard and
So I plan to do more. I'm hoping. I don't know. I might do further. I wanted to do like 24 hours, but I think my wife would have been really mad. And plus the gators come out at night. Here, so they're out there during the day too, but at night they're hungry, so they're cool with me in the day. They probably more think I'm going to eat them. So
yeah, I'm good. Sean, anything you want to say to the people, man?
They can always go check us out at yourbrave.net. That's our website. You'll learn a lot about the folks that I love and care about that are on our team. Really, it's just designed to help people. There's quite a bit out there. You can learn. You can just learn new things. Thank you so much, both of you. I've learned a lot. You're wonderful folks.
Hey, hit me up, Sean. I'd love to help you out.
All right, I will. Okay.
All right. Their information is tagged on my Farron Dozier Instagram and the Farron Dozier Show as well. So we'll make sure your stuff gets put out there as well. And it's embedded in the show forever here. So you're good to go. All right. Thank you both. I appreciate y'all. Again, thanks for tuning us in. This is the Farron Dozier Show on MB Radio. Yes. I'm back. All right. I got to get out of here. Shouts out to MB Radio. This episode will be aired wherever you get your streaming podcast platforms, Spotify, YouTube. The links that you have been watching are the same links that you can revisit and watch the show there. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Again, appreciate y'all for listening in. If you have information or you want information, you got questions, you want to be a guest, at Farron right there, at Farron Dozier on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'll be more than happy to set up a time for you to be a guest. Let me play one more of this. This is the Farron Dozier Show. Shout us out. What's the count?
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Muchos de nosotros nos vemos afectados por la enfermedad de células falciformes a diario y un número creciente simplemente no nos damos cuenta. Los impactos de esta enfermedad afectan a todas las personas y en especialmente a las personas de color y con antecedentes diversos. Estar en servicio conmigo y con los demás a medida que creamos una mayor conciencia sobre cómo identificar y dirigir el tratamiento de los rasgos de células falciformes y ayudar a las familias a saber cómo superar el trastorno de células falciformes.
Do you remember studying sickle cell in biology class? What's the Count on Sickle Cell Trait Prevention is here to bring you awareness, education, and prevention conversations around the risk factors of this inherited gene. Visit wdconsct.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.